Welcome back to your live continuing coverage of InfoComm 2016 from the Content Creation Live Streaming and VR Pavilion from BeTerrific. I'm Michael Larches. Thanks so much for joining us. We're here live in Las Vegas, Nevada at the Las Vegas Convention Center. You are the Terrifics. You make BeTerrific special at BeTerrific TV on all social media. We're just talking to Merrick about D3, Digital Dynamic Displays, the best digital display company in the entire world. They make the best signs, the greatest processing, 80% of the screens in Times Square. They're all over Las Vegas, Dubai, all over the world. The video wall behind us, that is a D3 sign. I've got Merrick, of course, joining us again. Jason, Barrick, and George, you guys are the partners of D3. So congratulations on 10 years, by the way, gentlemen. Thank you for supporting this and being here. And I'm looking forward to having the audience find out more about you guys and the company.
Yeah,
thank you, Mark.
Yeah, no, we appreciate being here, and we're the 3Ds of D3.
It's pretty cool. You're the three guys, and you came up with a digital dynamic displays. Like, that's pretty...
Nipples over wine.
Well, we're still trying to figure out which one's digital and dynamic displays.
He's definitely displays.
Maybe he's dynamic, though. I don't know.
He's a genius. He really is. I've spent a lot of time with him and then talking with him here. He's absolutely a genius. But you guys are also very, very intelligent. I would say borderline genius yourselves. How did you all meet?
It's a good question. About back in 1998, George and I met at a trade show here in Vegas.
Yep.
And we were working with different companies at the time. Then he's like, hey, why don't you come work for us? And so I did. And then George and I worked for the same company for, he was there almost 15 years.
Yep.
Yeah. And then we met Merrick when we worked all together on the first display behind us with ABC. And so then I moved to New York, and George and I started building a lot more displays together, and we brought Merrick in to help us with the control systems. And then that company was bought and sold twice in about a year and a half. And back in '05, we all got together one day and said, you know what, let's go do this on our own. And it was interesting because George and I used to sit there and we'd be frustrated on some of the things our clients were telling us, some of the things that we would see, and people thought we were a little bananas. There were well-established players in the marketplace, and nobody told us we couldn't do it, so we just did, and we knew we were going to do it differently. And 10 years, it's really a testament to the hard work. I mean, pure grit. I mean, George. I think he did 160,000 miles in the air last year.
Wow.
And I mean,
it was 208, but who's counting?
and this guy sleeps less than me.
No,
he's a vampire. I mean, I left here the other night. I tapped out at about 3 in the morning, 3:30, and I'm like, Merrick, you gonna leave with me? He's like, no, I'm gonna be here. He didn't leave till what, 6?
6.
Yeah.
Yeah, no matter what country I'm in, I know I can call him and he'll be awake. That's for sure.
And then it's funny because the next morning I said, hey, where's Merrick? Oh, wait, he's probably sleeping. Don't wake him up. Jason goes, no, let me call him on the phone.
Yeah.
Exactly.
He only needs Starbucks, not sleep.
Starbucks. Also Starbucks.
The display industry's changed a lot since you guys got started, certainly, but even as D3 has gotten started, I love the creativity. I mean, this sign behind us and is now our backdrop, it's almost like we're there in Times Square, is the first sign that you guys really started on together, right? And it's so iconic at this point. It's so beautiful, but nobody had ever done a sign like this when you did it. I mean, you couldn't even have dreamed of this. You could have had, there were some signs where they'd take like square and they'd wrap it around a building, kind of like the Times Square ticker tape, right, around Times Square. And then they had, things that they'd turn upside down and then sometimes they'd cover half of a display to make it look like it was a shoe. But to do this, how many people must have said you can't do it because there was nothing like it?
Well, I think in the beginning, Merrick can remember that there's a lot of Disney Imagineering people involved with this design and some real high-end designers and architects, and they had sketches and ideas, and this is their vision, and they didn't care that you said you can't do certain things. They just said figure it out, and that was basically the task on the first one. Being, like Merrick mentioned earlier, a 50 millimeter, it was much easier than when we turned it into a 10 millimeter. And now going to even a higher resolution. This time around, we're expanding the center screen, so there's a lot of structure that's going to go into it. But we have some good visions, but we have a lot of really great people behind us, engineers, electronic, mechanical, that really figure out the details of how this all fits together.
Is it really, though, just that no is not in your vocabulary?
Unfortunately, sometimes that's the fact. It gets us in trouble sometimes.
By the way, I've always had this kind of feeling, and I don't know if this is done on purpose, that it feels a little bit like a mountain, and I always have thought of Space Mountain, and I don't know why, and I never put the Disney ABC connection together until you just said that. Is there any connection there? Is there any part of that they said, we're going to take another iconic image of Disney's and kind of make you subliminally, subtly feel that?
I mean, the main concept of this was a flag, right? That's what they wanted to do.
Oh, well then, yeah, it looks like a flag.
It looked like a flag. And then, next.
Art and beauty are in the eye of the beholder, so that's interesting.
So it was supposed to be a complete flag. Then when it came down to execution, the flag was way too expensive,
right,
because you had to do complete three-dimensional shapes, and so it was just way too complicated. And the ribbon idea was a compromise. Yeah. But originally, Disney people thought that the ribbons were just going to be color, and the center screen was going to be a television screen. That's until the ABC people got involved. And they said, no, we want content to go from here, we want it to go over there, we want this to be tickers. And that's when all of the challenges started, and we got very involved. And at that time, I actually was with Imagineering to work with them through all of the challenges to get the screen up and running. It was a lot of fun. But that's when I met George and Jason as part of that process. And started a lifelong friendship that goes on these days, and it's going on to, 17, 18 years.
Yeah, I mean, both these guys were at my wedding.
Wow.
And to your point earlier, kind of by design, the foundation of all of our technology, all of our mechanics, and this was kind of the brainchild of these guys in our engineering team, was so it could be scalable. And almost every product in our arsenal has been something that a client came to us and said, nobody else has this, can you build this? And so George, working with our engineering team, every day, it's something new, to the point where these guys, if we just give them a rectangle or 16:9 aspect, they're like, are you kidding me?
Right, so this was easy. You guys were like laughing at me when we talked about it.
Oh yeah, this is like putting up a test wall, so this is no challenge. Next year.
All right, next year. Next year.
Yeah.
We have to do
some
something
rivets.
a little different.
We're going to have a lot of fun next year. All right, I look forward to that. I think it's really great. I think a good team starts with good people, and that's you guys. You're good people. You're smart people, and you work well together. That's really important. And you're also friends. I think that's important.
Also, the very key part is we really complement each other. If all of us had exactly the same talent, it wouldn't work that well.
Right.
But each one of us really appreciate the other person's talents. And I'm really very fortunate to have two partners that are so incredible in different ways.
Your customer service is great, but the reality is you have very little downtime, and you're constantly monitoring all your clients' screens and able to remote dial in and fix most of any issues immediately.
Yeah, one of the interesting things is one of the first displays we sold in Times Square was the M&M screens, and we just refaced them after 10 years. So we sat in the meeting, the three of us, and they looked at our business cards, and it just had our cell phone numbers. Mm-hmm. And that was probably a really good idea, and sometimes a really bad idea, because people want to call us. And so we're trying to get them to call the customer service number, but they always know that they can reach us. And even to this day, we get a lot of those calls. But as you were saying before, talk about Merrick, talking about George, I mean, these guys really complement me as far as how we are as a company. I mean, this guy, someone once termed Merrick as the guy who could launch a space shuttle from his bedroom. And then George.
Does.
Yeah. And then George, I've never met anybody in my life that knows A to Z, LED display manufacturing systems. I mean, you go back, down to the diodes, how the diodes are manufactured. Nobody knows more than George. He's probably got the equivalent of, 3 or 4 different engineering degrees with all the knowledge base he has.
I can't remember their names, but the other stuff.
Oh, you're cruel. I remember Jason's name. Come on. So it's Vegas, okay?
Vegas.
Yeah. I'm lucky I remember my own name.
But we do. We have a lot of fun working together, and going into working with clients. I mean, I always tell these guys, I'm so comfortable walking with them because there's never a question that we can't answer, and we're very passionate about this. I mean, we really love what we do.
It's awesome. You have to love what you do.
We were really fortunate when we started the company because we had a lot of history with a lot of other products, and we knew what was good and what worked and didn't work, and we decided that we really wanted to, do something better and solve problems. What we didn't want is a big customer service aspect to the company. And currently, really, we only have 2 people that do all of our customer service. Someday we'll probably have to have 3. But we didn't want signs that we're constantly fixing. And so, our stuff starts out with how do you make something robust? It's not just the bottom line and the profit. I mean, that's what we all want in the end. But making a good product has to be the first thing we think about.
Well, look, you got signs all over the world. You can't have problems all over the world that you have to get on a plane every second and go deal with, number one. Number two, you can't have downtime in any of these signs. And they have to endure extreme weather conditions and elements. I mean, New York City is a very hard environment, especially in bad winters. A lot of snow, a lot of cold air, wind, floods.
Salt air, people don't think about it's an island.
Sure, and then you got even,
Into the ocean.
I mean, you have guys who clean the signs. People don't think about that part, and they use the wrong stuff to clean the signs.
All
and
the time.
all sorts of stuff. You have all sorts of problems way beyond your control. And then you got Dubai. I'm sure there are problems there, and heat and all sorts of other things.
I think the
all these environments
sandstorms are just a brutal aspect of having displays. And even in Phoenix and Las Vegas, pretty brutal environments for displays.
Well, we know. Just look, the garage door was open while we were setting up. We had computers overheating like crazy. It was so hot in here. It was 109 degrees, and the sun was beaming on our stuff.
Yeah.
I think it's also remarkable how small a footprint you've gotten the processors to be, but yet how powerful they are. And that's not really a testament to the technology. That's a testament to you guys, because yes, technology is getting better and smaller and all that stuff, but you guys are pushing it to the end of the envelope and really getting the most out of it. Talk about content a little bit, George. I know that's not necessarily your specialty, right? But you got to be wowed by the content that goes up on the signs and the creativity, but also it's amazing how today the content can be created very inexpensively and also expensively, and that can be meshed together.
Well, yeah, so we're seeing the advent of all these little apps that some people can...
We'll take care of that. Hold on a second.
We're seeing all the apps that people are using now that are making really good content. But it really comes into not just the content being made, but how you process it, and that's where Merrick's forte is. I mean, somebody can make something on an iPhone, and Merrick can re-render it and put it up, and it looks like it was some high-end ad agency made it, which is really amazing. But when we got into this, when we started this over 25 years ago, there was $50,000 pieces of content that somebody makes on their cell phone these days.
Right, pretty amazing.
It's huge. It's a huge leap forward. Not just screensaver. Not just we set it for an hour.
I know. It went so quick.
Well, thank you guys. It's been great.
Went to dark, so go back.
But not just the
He just wanted to show everybody what a black backdrop would look like.
Exactly. It looks pretty good.
Yeah.
The components, when it comes down to actually making LED screens, when we first started, to get something that was 30 millimeter pixel pitch was amazing, and now we're down into the 0.9 pixel pitch. A blue LED was $1, 20 years ago. Now it's a penny or less, fractions of a penny.
Was it really $1 at that time? You sold it to ABC for $2.75.
Yes.
So the margins were even better during those days.
Margins were better too.
Yeah.
I mean, the first $1 million sign that I remember we sold, in 93 or 4, full color. It was $1 million, but the thing was like 10 foot tall by 12 foot wide. And now for $1 million, you know, you can build a 5,000 square footer.
Yeah.
Wow.
You know, so
Yeah.
I mean, it's a huge difference.
Well, and I think when the content comes down in cost, especially because you have to refresh it constantly, you might be able to do more with the sign because you can put that budget towards the sign. But it is important to realize that you can't have a sign without content. And I bet you get approached like, you know, all the time, and people, wait, now we have the sign, what do we put on it?
Exactly, and that's one of the things that we do in the initial process working with people. You know, we do a lot more than just build the modules. It's more of helping them develop a program so that they can monetize the display and make money. And you know, one of the things Merrick was talking about before is user-generated content, and it goes beyond just interactivity. I mean, when you look at the social networking, when you look at people's ability to kind of almost crowdsourcing content on displays by people tweeting, doing different things. And that's one of the key areas that Merrick's been working with clients on, is be able to come up with these algorithms to these content engines that are constantly doing things differently.
I mean, right now, a big initiative of us is to really have the processes be intelligent, where content gets generated on the fly and content gets interacted with on the fly. So there is intelligence in the systems, because we're getting more to the learning computers, right? The thinking computers that actually learn from what they have done. So we're putting a lot of that technology in and expanding on our software side to be able to do some of those really exciting things, where when they look at people, they can figure out what is going on, what they should be doing, and what content comes next. So that's really the next boundary for us, where the machines themselves are imagining, seeing their environment, interacting with them, and figuring out what way to go.
And you have those Bluetooth beacons now as well coming out that work with phones and can pull content from the phones or pull information from the phones, and then all sorts of other stuff. And I imagine you're building cameras, which you've already done, but I mean also to check dwell time and engagement and interactivity and monitoring all this.
Completely, yeah. You have in camera systems now, you have machine vision where you can figure out are there females, are there males, what are the age groups, are there children here, and you can tailor your content based on what's going on and their dwell time. And if it's, you can show it over a time period, you can see what ad really worked, what didn't work, so you can change your algorithms of how many impressions you want to do on one thing. So we're going a lot into intelligent displays.
The Nokia Ozo's here, 360 VR content. When do you think VR will translate into these signs, and how into these screens? Will it be people walking up and being able to touch things and move it around? Obviously, you're not going to be completely immersed, I don't think, because you're not going to put the goggles on, but maybe there's something with the Halo in the future where you have a Halo lens on, you can see past the screen to your screen. But tell me, I'm curious.
Well, it goes, I'll let Merrick continue in a second, but it goes beyond just the user. So think of the audience, people with them being able to enjoy what they're saying in that immersive
Wow,
experience.
so if somebody sat here with a headset and when they move their head left, the viewer here is getting the same experience.
What we're trying to do is we're trying to get people away from their solitary environment of just being here and being with somebody completely far away. Go out there, interact with people, use these big surfaces instead of having your goggles and be all completely in your own world. Get a world that is virtual but is real at the same time.
You guys absolutely do the impossible and beyond. It's unbelievable. The creativity that comes out of you is unbelievable, and I love this. Thank you. Thank you for being part of this. Thank you for being here. I hope you enjoyed InfoComm as well. And wow, without a doubt, the best sign in Vegas right here.
Thanks, Michael.
Thank you.
I appreciate it. Thank you, guys. They are D3. They are amazing. It's George, Jason, and Merrick. I'm Michael. You're the Terrifics. We'll be back with a little bit more from InfoComm 2016 right after this. Don't go anywhere.